So by now, you've already seen how the media has been working overtime to invalidate everything President Trump has been saying about election security. They didn't want to air him addressing the nation, but his message still got out. And now, ladies and gentlemen, after the New Jersey governor, Mikey Sherrill, came out and admitted that there were non-citizens who were registered and that there were some that actually voted, the new excuse is, well, it wasn't that many. And so we're catching the pattern here. First it was, this isn't happening. Now it's happening, but not enough to matter. And now you have CNN host Abby Phillips moving the goalpost also that the left does not have to acknowledge that President Trump was right. And all of this is taking place while you have several Democrat-run states who are refusing to hand over their voter rolls. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to get into with that. Plus, we have to get into some Jasmine Crockett news. She doesn't have that much time left before she's up out of Congress, and she's choosing to spend that time doing the only thing she seems to know how to do, which is race baiting and making absolutely no sense. And so, as always, if you are enjoying the content, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way you can let me know you enjoy the content. For more, subscribe to the channel, and shout out to everybody who comments down below and watches the entire video. I appreciate every single one of you. Let's start right here with this. Let me start you with this to set the stage as far as this is who the president is. This is who the media is constantly vilifying, but somehow this is what the numbers, at least this is a picture, a snapshot of what the numbers are saying currently. So take a listen to this. CNN just got forced to admit the unthinkable on live TV. President Trump is crushing it with the highest in-party approval of any second-term president this century. And so take a listen to this.
Trump endorsees won Senate primaries of non-elected incumbents. So we're not just looking at elected incumbents, right? We're looking at open seats or appointed incumbents who have never actually won the Senate seat. Look at this. Since 2022, it's about 95% of the time. This year, in fewer races, it's 100% of the time. No wonder why the prediction markets and the conventional wisdom have moved so rapidly once Trump made that endorsement, because at least in Senate races, Trump's record this year, 100%. And since 2022, nearly 100%. There has never been somebody I have seen as powerful in terms of their ability to move the electorate in primaries than the current president of the United States, Donald John Trump.
What's one reason for that?
One reason why is because Trump is still very popular with Republicans. Just take a look here. Okay, 21st century own party approval rating, about at this point in the second term. We got Trump, we got Obama, we got Bush. Look, they're all fairly popular, but the one who is the most popular, and we have seen this time in and time out, no matter when you look, is Donald John Trump. He's the only one who's over 80%. 83% of Republicans still approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing as president. He still has that magic touch. We'll see if it carries over to South Carolina, but we've seen it in primaries this year, Senate primaries, and that's because he is still a very popular man, historically popular when it comes to his own party liking and approving of the job that he's doing.
Yeah, so you heard that. And so I would argue that President Trump has received a higher level of criticism, a higher level of pushback than both those presidents combined. That's just my personal opinion. But I wanted to show you that because now let's get into this next part where you have the president has been pushing for the Save America Act. That's been what he's been harping on. He's been talking about voter election security. That's the thing he's been pushing, getting Senate to, hey, pass the Save America Act. And a part of the reason is because we want to make sure that we have safe, secure elections. We don't want people who are not supposed to be voting in our elections to be voting in them. That's number one. But you don't want those who know how to manipulate the voting process being allowed to vote in them also. And that's also another thing. It doesn't get talked about nearly enough, but that happens also. Those individuals out there who will manipulate the voting process with mail-in ballots in order to make sure the person they want to win will win, the Democrat they want to win will win. But let's go ahead and get into this next clip because you got CNN's Abby Phillips. She goes out of her way with this one, ladies and gentlemen. And reminder, this is after the fact that the current governor of New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill, came out and admitted that there is fraud going on when it comes to the election integrity in New Jersey. They found that there were non-citizens who were registered to vote and some actually voted. And so that's the groundwork that's been laid already. But yet you got Abby Phillips now on this panel, and thank goodness for Scott Jennings being up there, or else, this show is already terrible, but it would be, it'd be even worse. But she's going out her way to basically deflect, defend, and find some way not to acknowledge that President Trump was actually right. And so let's go ahead and get into this.
The White House obviously seized on the news to help push Trump's voter ID bill, writing, quote, Democrat glitch registers thousands of non-citizens to vote. Another reason to pass the Save America Act. This is obviously not a great situation. She acknowledged that. But it also doesn't demonstrate that there's widespread voter fraud in New Jersey or anywhere.
In New Jersey? 6,600 non-citizens made it onto the voter rolls. That's okay. To me, is pretty widespread voter fraud.
That's widespread?
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty bad if one person who's not a legal citizen in the United States.
What's the number of registered voters in the state?
New Jersey spends $60 billion over that overall on its budget. So I think if we're seeing...
but I mean, you just said it's widespread. So where's the proof that it's widespread?
6,600 non-citizens made it onto the voter rolls.
That is 0.006% of registered voters in the state. Mikey Sherrill, she won her
I don't think it invalidates her election.
She won her election by 500,000 votes. There were 3.3 million ballots cast in that election. 400 ineligible voters. Let's say, because we don't even know, let's say they all voted for her, which maybe they did.
Yeah, it still wouldn't invalidate the election.
That would be about 1/100% of all the votes cast. Yeah. Widespread?
Yeah, 6,600 non-citizens made it onto the voter rolls. That's pretty bad. I think.
Hold on. Widespread?
Yeah.
6,600 people who were inadvertently registered to vote. The vast majority of them never cast a ballot, and you're calling 400 maybe ballots cast by people who were registered as Republicans, as Democrats, as Independents, as widespread in a state where there are 6.8 million registered voters?
Yeah, I'm with the governor of New Jersey on this. I think it's a pretty big problem.
That math doesn't math, Jesse.
Well, I didn't say it invalidated Mikey Sherrill's election result.
I didn't say you said that, but I also dispute the idea that there's any proof that this is widespread.
I think there are thousands of non-citizens on the voter rolls in New Jersey, and I'm pretty concerned about that. I would call it a widespread problem. I think the bigger problem here is that...
What's your definition of widespread, by the way? Is it 1%? Is it 2%?
I don't know, more than 100? I think it's a big problem. What's yours?
What's your tolerance for this?
Hold on. This is not about tolerance. This is about, is it widespread or is it something that is relatively rare,
You're pounding him over the word widespread. I just would ask you,
Scott,
what is your tolerance for any fraud at all?
Is it widespread?
Absolutely. Over 6,000 people.
What is your bar for widespread?
She said, my bar is I want no tolerance. Okay. I have zero tolerance.
So what is your tolerance for American citizens?
By the way, this isn't the only place this is happening.
What is your tolerance for American citizens whose valid voter registrations are invalidated by incorrect databases? What's your tolerance for that?
I don't have tolerance for any mistakes in the electoral system, including putting non-citizens on the rolls.
So then why are we not keeping the same energy for that as we are for this?
Now, on the bottom of the screen, ladies and gentlemen, it says New Jersey governor, 6,600 non-citizens mistakenly added to voter rolls. The subject is about non-citizens being registered to vote, and some of whom actually voted in New Jersey elections. That don't got nothing to do with what she trying to move the goalposts and talk about now. She talking about situations where citizens, people who are eligible to vote because of errors in the system, because of things that end up happening, they are shown to be ineligible to vote. And now she's trying to say, well, this happens over here with actual people who are registered to vote in this country, citizens who have the right to vote, and they're not being allowed to, where they're being said to be ineligible to vote. And she's using that as her I gotcha moment. When all she's doing is trying to move the goalposts, because that's not even the conversation. That's not even a news story. Mikey Sherrill didn't get up in her press conference talking about that. But yet she wants to bring that to the table because that allows them to ignore and dismiss everything that President Trump has been talking about. It allows them to further invalidate what he was saying. But you know what? Let's hear Scott Jennings, because he was starting to go in. And so take a listen.
I do have energy. As you know, I've come out here and long argued that every time we don't clean up the voter rolls, that every time a non-citizen makes it onto the voter rolls, it invalidates some legal person vote.
What about when an American is not allowed to vote when they are eligible to vote?
I don't have any tolerance for that either. American citizens should be allowed to vote. But American citizens are invalidated
why are you okay then with the
administration
using a system that a federal judge recently found was actively removing U.S. citizens from the voter rolls based on inaccurate information? Why are you comfortable with that system being used to check the voter rolls?
This is a convenient deflection for you. This is the worst possible story that could happen for Democrats now regarding the debate over the SAVE Act. 6,600 illegal aliens on the roll in New Jersey that you know about.
Can I tell you why I think this conversation is wrong? Because, first of all, this is not the worst possible conversation. This is actually a very good conversation for Democrats because Mikey Sherrill did exactly the right thing. She was transparent.
That's all I was saying.
Let me finish. She was transparent.
And it was good.
Wow. Absolutely despicable. I mean, absolutely despicable right there. So instead of actually addressing the topic, Abby Phillips much rather move the goalposts, bring up a completely different topic that's not even the main issue, and make that the main issue. And then attack Scott Jennings with that. This is why, listen, I bring this show up, and let me say this first. I always like to, share these clips with you guys, not because I think it's great television, but because I think it's important that we look at this and see just the contradictions that come from the left. And that way you just really understand the psyche. You really understand the mentality of these individuals. That's really what it is, and why I kind of show these clips to you guys, as well as just kind of updating you on what's going on and what the reactions to current news and things of that nature. But that's absolutely terrible. This is if they want to do a topic based on people who are eligible to vote being left off of voter rolls and they're actually eligible because they're citizens, go ahead and bring that at the bottom of the screen. And then y'all could talk about that all you want. But that's not what they did. They wanted to talk about, they were supposed to be talking about New Jersey. The governor came out, said that they were registered non-citizens on the voter rolls who were registered to vote. Some of them actually end up voting. And now she's coming out admitting it days after President Trump addressed the nation talking about election integrity, election security. But you know what? This is why President Trump has been harping on the Save America Act. And with that being said, let's go to jump into this next clip where you have Newsmax and you have the Assistant Attorney General speaking about how DHS found nearly 300,000 non-citizens on the rolls while many states resist cleaning them up. And so take a listen to this.
I think it's important that people go to the polls. I want every American to vote, regardless of party, and I want them to feel confident in the outcome. And we just can't have that when we have 2/3 of the states refusing to cooperate with the Department of Justice's efforts to get the voter rolls so that we can help clean them up. In the states that are cooperating with us or where we can get the commercially available data, Department of Homeland Security has found almost 300,000 non-citizens on the voter rolls. And, I'm pushing U.S. attorneys offices and coordinating with them to prosecute some of these cases, and I'm hearing them from all over the country. So this is a real problem, and no American's vote should be canceled out by duplicate, illegal, or worse, foreign interference in our elections. So we're here to make sure that doesn't happen. I think it's important that people go to the...
And you know what I find so interesting about this, and you let me know your comments down below. While I think voters who are non-citizens is probably a part of the problem, I think a bigger part of this issue when it comes to our elections and election security and election integrity probably has a lot more to do with the ballots themselves, the mail-in ballots, voter manipulation as far as duplicate ballots, or, people who are able to get their hands on multiple ballots and then fill them out. I mean, we've kind of gone over how California does it out there, where you don't need an ID. You don't need to show any type of proof, really. All you got to do is check a box, and they say pretty much saying, hey, we trust you. You can vote. And so I think that's probably far more dangerous, is these states and these places where they'll send you a mail-in ballot, or you can just go ahead and vote. They're not checking your ID. You can, submit your ballot, and there's no real way to show that this person is who they said they are, or they're eligible to vote in an election. And so that's the part where I think is probably more manipulation going on, because it's more control in that area versus non-citizens voting. I think there's more control over the outcome when you can manipulate through mail-in ballots as far as things go. But that's just my personal opinion on that part. But let's keep going, because I shared a previous clip with you guys before with Senator Mike Lee and how he was urging the Senate to pass the Save America Act. And he's gone one step further. He's now saying that, and I'm all for this, because, I mean, listen, do your job. Do your job and get this done. And so he's urging that August recess be canceled and that they pass the Save America Act. If Democrats want to filibuster this bill, let them stand and speak like actual senators actually filibustering, because that's what filibustering is. And I'm 100% for this. Our Senate has gotten way too lazy, where they're scared and it's all about basically doing the least amount of work in order to just be able to skate by and hold on to their positions come next election season and claim that they're still fighting against the Democrats. Well, no. Nuke the filibuster and force the Democrats to actually stand up there and actually fight, actually have to defend themselves. But take a listen to Senator Mike Lee.
Both simultaneously be back into session in the Capitol until, wait for it, September 14th. Mid-September. This is the last week, absent some change in the respective chambers' meeting schedules. The last legislative week until mid-September, which will take us to just, what is that, 6 weeks before the November election? That is unacceptable. We don't have a lack of time, Mr. President. We have a lack of spine. Don't ever confuse lack of time with lack of spine, because they're two very different things. If we truly lacked time, that would be one thing. We've got time. We're just choosing not to use it. We're choosing to use it differently, and I would add very poorly if we don't take this up. Take it up now and stay on the bill until it darn well passes. The Senate should stay here tomorrow, this weekend, next week, through weekends and long scheduled recesses, as long as it takes. If opponents want to block it, let them do so in public. If Democrats want to filibuster this bill, let them stand and speak like actual senators, actually filibustering, because that's what filibustering is. And if they don't show up to do that, then we call the question. We call the vote, and we do so at a simple majority, because that's what our rules allow us to do with votes when they don't filibuster. But you can't have the benefit of filibustering if you're not willing to filibuster.
Senator Mike Lee, absolutely 100% correct. What's the point of having the filibuster if you're not going to use it? What's the point of sitting here being in a majority? What's the point of being the majority if you're not going to use that to your advantage? It's not lack of time. Yeah, unfortunately, we got some Republicans who it's a lack of a spine. That's what it really is, ladies and gentlemen. You know, the one thing that everyone should understand by now when it comes to politics, when it comes to government, is just like any other sector of industry as far as out there in the workforce, where you're going to have people who are lazy and don't want to actually do their job, but still get paid like they're actually doing something. Government is no different. Just because they got elected to a position and they're supposed to be working for the people, they're supposed to be representatives of the people, that don't mean nothing to some of these individuals. Just like the person who worked at the local coffee shop, just like the person who worked down in the office building, who don't really do their job well, but somehow expect to get a raise, expect to get a promotion. No different, except for these people actually affect everyday citizens' lives because they were elected to do so. They were elected to be representatives of the people. And that's a problem when you don't even want to defend your position or force your opponents to defend their position. You just say, throw my hands up. I guess we can't do it. It doesn't make any sense, especially on an issue that is overwhelmingly popular by far by the American people, as we already know, due to all the polls and understanding. If you need to figure out, okay, what can we get rid of? That's part of the job. If you got to work out, okay, what parts of the act do we need to adjust? What parts do we need? That's a part of the job. But you should be getting it done rather than just a simple concession of, well, I guess we can't do it. Let's just keep the current system in place that we have in place. That makes no sense to me. But let's go ahead and switch gears and go to this next clip with Jasmine Crockett, who she does not have much time left in the House because she's out. She's not going to be there come 2027, ladies and gentlemen. But nonetheless, she's not, wasting any time as far as, I guess, continuing with her grift of being a race baiter and really adding nothing of substance when she does speak. And so let's get into this clip where she puts her foot in her mouth, making absolutely zero sense, and is getting clowned nationwide for claiming rooting for Spain over Argentina in the World Cup is white supremacy, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I mean, she said that out loud. I mean, you can't make this up. You really can't. And so take a listen to this.
The World Cup that captured the imaginations of the entire world when they saw all of these people of color that was playing for all these teams. And ultimately, if you recall, the last two teams, it was Argentina and Spain. And it seemed like the vast majority of the world was rooting for Argentina, or actually against Argentina, right? And why was that? Just give me an explanation if you could guess. If you'll just let them finish the answer.
Spain had the best team. Maybe that's why they were rooting for them.
There's also a racist history that exists.
Mr. Byer, you're recognized.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crockett.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for letting me weigh in onto the committee. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for that sort of exaggerated opening video.
The World Cup. The World.
Guys, and I've shared this before on this channel, I live in the state of Texas. Used to live in New Jersey. Most of my life grew up, born and raised in New Jersey. Recently moved out to Texas just a few years ago. Thank goodness I don't live in Jasmine Crockett's district. I do live in the Dallas metro area. If you want to say the closest major city is definitely Dallas. The people in her district, they got some, I mean, they're going to have to help me understand how they decided she is who they wanted to represent them. And so I'm not even going to go into all the historical references as far as how Argentina doesn't have a large black pop. I'm not going to go into any of that. I'm just going to show you the numbers, ladies and gentlemen, and then we're going to go ahead and move on. Argentina versus Spain, black population comparison. Argentina has 302,936,000 black Afro-descendant population, approximately, we're speaking here. Spain, 1 to 2 million black African Afro-descendant population, approximately, we're speaking. And so you see it right there on the screen, 0.7 Argentina, 0.7 Argentina, 0.7 Argentina, ladies and gentlemen, versus 2 to 4% for Spain. And so Jasmine Crockett doesn't know what the hell she's even talking about. Spain has a larger black population than Argentina does. And so this whole idea that people rooting for Spain because Argentina is more black literally is not based in reality, ladies and gentlemen. But it's Jasmine Crockett, so it doesn't have to be. Nothing that comes out of her mouth is based in reality. But we only got a few more months to actually deal with her. And so with that being said, y'all let me know what you think down below. I appreciate when you guys chime in. Drop your comment. As always, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way to let me know you enjoy the content. For more, subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.